All right, gentlemen, let's break this one down. Staying in the Big 12, Folsom Field, turf for the first time in the history of that program on that field. How do we feel about this game? Is it going to be Brent Key? Is it going to be Dion? JP, you go second this time. Jake, you break this one for us.
I was going to say, I was going to say, you could take it, Parks. You're the big Georgia Tech guy here.
I was going to say, yeah.
You can have it. And you're
run the ball, dude. Run the ball.
I will say, if I'm going to go first, which is perfectly fine, less of my focus on this matchup is on Georgia Tech because I kind of know what I'm going to get out of them a little bit outside of the wide receiver room because they lost Singleton. But more questions for me are on the Colorado side and Caden Salter and what he can do with the weapons they have because they've been such a pass-heavy team the last few years with Shadur and the weapons they had, like Weaver on the outside in year one. And then you look last year and they had Jimmy Horn step up and LeJonte Wester was an awesome ad. And then this year I'm looking through and like they add Prentice who put up over 1,000 yards at Campbell last year, but then Omarion Miller who looked good in spots for them last year. But like, I can't see who's going to emerge and fill the slot of what LeJonte Wester did, which he completely took over games for that team last year. And whether or not they're going to have a quarterback that can make the throws to the caliber that Shadur did in that offense. And it was one of the most pass-heavy teams in college football. They were 132nd in run play call percentage. I just don't know what I'm going to get offensively from this team without Shadur Sanders under Dion's point of view, especially when it comes to college football. So I think that this is a really good spot for Georgia Tech's defense to force a couple of turnovers, put them in good spots, and then Haynes King, just be Haynes King. Grit one out, use your offensive line, use the run game, and don't get into those ugly battles. I think Georgia Tech is a team that we've talked over the last couple of years that's either plays up to their opponent's level or plays down to whoever they're playing. And I think you got to avoid that if you want to get to the expectations in that 8-9 win mark, which they should easily achieve with the guys that they had coming back in the production. And I would feel a lot better if there was a ranked number next to Colorado's name in this game with Brent Key, but he's going to have that team ready to go. And Folsom's never an atmosphere that really scares me away from a team. And Georgia Tech went in and should have beat Georgia last year. So we'll see how this one goes. But I got to side with Georgia Tech just because I think there's too many question marks around what Colorado is going to be identity-wise. Jake?
Yeah, we're going to find out. And I think that's a big headline for week one. I think there's a lot of teams that are trying to figure out what their identity is. And that's why we play the football games, to be kind of point blank. For me, if I'm looking at Colorado, I know that we clearly like what do they need to address? They need to run the football this year. I think from the Colorado side of things, I get what they're saying when there is confidence that Caden Salter can actually improve the run game with his ability to kind of run a little RPO stuff and to his ability to use his legs. It's just a matter of, I don't know if I love Welch. I don't know if I love Dallin Hayden, the running backs for Colorado. And then I think that Colorado still has a couple of receivers, like you mentioned, Parks, but can Caden Salter get it to him? We'll have to wait and see because Amari Harvey in the secondary for Georgia Tech is really good. I think it's the defensive line for Colorado that's going to make or break this game in Boulder. All eyes are going to be on Jaheim Otis, Alabama transfer. Can he finally stay healthy? Can he finally become the 5-star talent consistently that he was? He could be a game wrecker and one of the best in the Big 12 if he reaches that ceiling. And also the Walker kid at defensive end could be good for Colorado too. That's what I'm looking at. It's not even offensively for them. I want to see this defensive line create pressure on this Georgia Tech offense because they have so many weapons, like you mentioned. I think I trust the Colorado secondary a little bit. Like I like McKinney, and there's a couple of other guys back there that I think can hold their own as long as they get a defensive line that can create pressure consistently.
They 100% feel very confident that Hodge and McKinney are going to be able to, sit back in coverage with Rivers and Rutherford and kind of control that. And I think if that's what you want to do and go that direction. I think we saw McKinney was solid last year, but it took him a while to get his feet under him and really go into that. We'll plug in two really good elite receivers and then a quarterback who has pretty good connection with both of them and the ability to move around the pocket makes it tough. Like to stay on like Georgia Tech offense, Colorado defense, the Georgia Tech offensive line was picked a little bit through the portal, as a lot of offensive lines are when you have big names and good years, but it's still cohesive and it's still really good together. That's a Brent Key specialty, right? That's just what he does and what he operates. Yep. I think you have to feel comfortable with who you have with the keys in his hand and Haynes King. And then you have to feel really comfortable with the front and then the pieces on the outside, even with the loss of Singleton, right? And then flip it on the other side. I think Colorado will have a better chance to run the football, right? They keep Jordan Seaton, I believe he was like a honorable mention Big 12 or honorable mention All-American in some spots. Lose another 2 pieces because they were good for Colorado last year, but their run push metrics were abysmal. And they didn't even try. Like, even when they tried, it was bad. And so you have to be able to do it. I kind of agree with Jake in the backs. Like, nothing's going to stick out and blow you away. But I think Salter brings something different to that. Move around, make more plays. How much do they benefit out of having, like, make this, give me like the 80th, 90th best rush offense? And I think you open things up a little bit more for them.
I'll also be intrigued to see, before we go to Reese quickly, I want to make 2 points. One, a correction. I called them a young apprentice before I talked about the Campbell transfer, but I should have called him an old veteran. No, I call him a young apprentice, but I should call him an old veteran because I forgot to mention he started playing football in 2020 in college. So here we are, a long time later.
I thought you called him Prentice, like Kobe Prentice at Baylor. I was about to correct you, and I was like, just roll with it.
Oh, no. Okay. Sorry. Well, double correction in case you heard the same thing Jake did. But Sincere Brown, 61 catches last year for over 1,000 yards, averaged 17 yards a catch. Like, that to me is the Xavier Wheeler, LeJontay Wester ad for them, but we'll see. And then my second point is I also wonder how we're going to view the game. Like, let's say Georgia Tech gets off to a start, right? 17-0, 14-0, whatever it may be. Will Dion be like, all right, get Juju in there? Like, let's put him in there and see what happens with the offense. Like, will we get a double look? I don't know. I'll say Dion's probably a more probable coach in the country for be like, I think I'm going to put my best players on the field. I don't care who you are, how much experience you have. So maybe they pull the trigger early, something to watch out for. Right.
Why couldn't they split drives? Like, would that be surprising? I don't think they came out and said that, but
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't be totally shocked.
I'd be more shocked if Colorado was just shut down by Georgia Tech's defense right now. To be honest, I think that there's a lot of changing revolving door pieces on them defensively. Like, Colorado can score. Maybe they just need to be themselves and let the talent be what it may. And, Georgia Tech's got to get a lot of things figured out. And this is a tough one to go figure it out, right, against this kind of team.
What do you think, Reese?
Yeah, you guys keep mentioning it, but the trenches are the big thing. Like, just Georgia Tech, this offense, their offensive line last year, they finished number 3 in the country. They're Joe Moore Award finalists. You got to go replace a few of these guys, but to JB touched on it, like, this is a team where they're just bought in. Like, having Brent Key as your coach, not to mention he's an offensive line coach, they're going to be just fine. Like, and what helps out too is bringing back this guy named Haynes King. And if you don't know him yet, shame on you. I watched this guy come to upstate New York last year, and they were down 17 with like under 5 minutes left, made it into a 1-possession football game. And I'm like, oh God, is Haynes really going to do this to us right now? But Houston pulled it out. But like, you talk about the names too outside JP, you got Rivers and you got Rutherford. They also got their tight end back from injury last year in Brett Seether. But then, like, defensively too, what's Georgia Tech going to be like? Because you get the new defensive coordinator Blake Gideon coming over from Texas. So defensively, that's the big question mark, I think, is what's going to be holding Georgia Tech back in this game. I really trust Haynes King. Like you just said, grit, dude's a grinder. No matter what the score of this game, he's going to go out and give 100%. And on the road, the guy doesn't care that you talk about. If there's a number by their name, I'd feel better about this for Georgia Tech, but Haynes King is a gamer, same with Coach Key. So I'm going to trust Georgia Tech in this spot, even if they're going to go on the road early.
Line 4.5 in favor of the Yellow Jackets. Will Rambling Wreck cover the number, or do you have the Buffs, Jake?
I got to take that. You got to take the home team with giving the points. I actually was on Colorado all week, so I do feel good about this spot. I think Livingston's going to have the defense good enough to stop Georgia Tech, and we'll see what we get on offense. But I think it might surprise some people.
If Colorado fans can not come for me in this clip because of what I'm wearing and what's behind me, I would have taken Georgia Tech anyway, even if I didn't hate you. But that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So give me Rambling Wreck minus the 4.5, 2-touchdown win. Easy win for my boy Key. JP.
I'm on Tech as well. I think it's gritty. It's close. I think there's just something that pulls away in the end.
Reese, finalizing up, going with Jake, or are you staying with JP and I?
Give me the Rambling Wreck. You got to replace Shador and you got to replace Travis Hunter. Those are 2 huge pieces. So I just think that's way too much early on to figure out for Colorado that was your entire team last year. Otherwise, they would be as popular. So give me the Tech.
It's a great point. 2 massive, 2 number retirings to replace production wise. It's a very fair point, Reese. So all right, 3 on Georgia Tech, 1 on Colorado. That one must see TV as well. Friday night is absolutely loaded. Definitely tune into that one in Boulder on the